Is Lauri making progress as a number one option? What is Walker Kessler's ceiling? And what about free agency and draft roster building? It's all coming on an Ask LOJ edition of Locked On Jazz. Pow.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Locked On Jazz for the 10th of March. The Jazz performance in Orlando shows the value of the final 17 games or so of the season. We'll look at that. Great collection of Ask LOJ questions, hits all the hot topics of Jazz fans. Lauri's progression, Walker's ceiling, drafting position, free agency, where do we go next? Plus, we wrap up the show with points gained, and of course, we'll play the lottery today as well. That's all coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider, and we are free and available for you on all podcasting platforms as well as on YouTube. Join the Locked On Jazz community. Be a part of our group and our fun people that are all a part of it in the chat room. You can join in as well and chat about it. You can on podcasting, just subscribe. 5-star reviews are always welcome. Thanks so much. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Locked On, as well as the official America's #1 sportsbook. The episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. All right, I have exciting news, and I'll have more details for you on Monday. But there is a product called Subtext, which allows me as a host to text out to individuals, and then you can actually text back to me, and we can communicate one-on-one. So it starts as kind of a group, and at times it's group, and it is subscription-based. Locked On is launching this next week. So if you want extra insight, I'll probably do kind of empty the noggin type post-game reports that I used to do after games, and I'll do and also just kind of breaking news and any insight and watching games and thoughts. We'll try to figure out the cadence of it. It'll be about $5 a month, and you're welcome to subscribe and be a part of that elite group. So we'll have that for you starting Monday. No details yet, but I just wanted to announce that that's coming. Super excited for Locked On to launch this and further the relationship between our hosts and our listeners across the board. So Locked On is one of the pilot programs of that and get you aboard. All right, last night, before we get to all the questions, and they're super today, I just thought that was a really great collective team effort by the Jazz. And that's kind of what this is all about, is these final games, is Lauri carrying his #1, Walker figuring out his role in it, Ochai playing the 30-plus minutes, Talen developing as a point guard and having that kind of game, Simone having the freedom to play a 20, 25, 30-game stretch where he's a part of the rotation and get through his doldrums and make some plays, Chris Dunn to continue to show that he really might be a viable NBA player again. Damian Jones trying to show these things. So I thought it was a really nice performance by the Jazz last night, and they go to 4-3 in clutch, which is just really surprising to me, frankly, that they've been able to hold that together since the trades. 4-3 in clutch since the trades, which is, it's impressive. There are not a lot of easy games left on the schedule, frankly, after the Charlotte game. There might not be only one or two other nights all year we're going to be favored if we're favored against Charlotte. So any win we can get right now I think is good for the guy and the spirits. And the spirit around the team is great. Like the energy and the juice around the group is really, really good. Will's done a fabulous job of maintaining that. Things can really get off the rails at this point of the season for an NBA team, and you can waste a quarter of the season if you're not careful. And the spirit and energy of this group is keeping itself and maintaining it. And I think that's wildly important for the long-term future of this program and it moving forward. So these are important games and important to have that kind of mentality and not let the games fall off the rails. All right, let's get right to it. You guys, I love Ask LOJ days because you guys ask these questions and they're always kind of what everybody wants to talk about and they're always right on, and I'm always impressed by what you guys bring to the table. So is Lauri showing progress as being a #1 option is the first question. And interestingly, this was the exact question that I asked Will Hardy yesterday to open the press conference. So this is an easy one. And he really talked about it, not as much. His answer to me was largely about off-the-court stuff. That Lauri's done a fabulous job off the court, being ready every night, leading every practice, having that burden upon him, understanding what it's like that when a game's like they're all looking to you to make the play rather than you looking to someone else. And Lauri's development in that regard. So that was what Will's answer was. Then I followed up with like some skill things, because one thing I noticed was Lauri's dribbling much lower and working on various aspects of his game and using more power around the basket. And Will back that up. And then last night, the thing I noticed most about Lauri and his development was these hard drives to the basket where he stops on a dime, and then the defense flies by, and he's able to hold his position and shoot it. And the comparison I used on the broadcast last night is it reminds me of Steve Nash. I know that's weird, 6'1", or 6'3", but Steve Nash talked to me about when he had his 2 MVP seasons. I was talking to Nash about it, and he said I was always on balance. I got to a physical condition and strength where I was always on balance. So no matter what my angle was driving and how much I might have looked off kilter, by the time I came set and got myself for my shot or my thing, I was always had a core strength and strength and physical prowess to always be on balance. And when I was always on balance, then I could always make the play. And I feel like Lauri's there, which is incredible at 7 feet, 240 pounds. So I think that's a pretty neat concept. All right, next question coming in. How badly does Lauri want to make the playoffs? He does, and the whole team does. They really are playing to make this play. And like Jazz fans can be wondering whether, oh my gosh, in our lottery position, was it a good or bad thing to lose to Orlando? Like, these guys want to complete this story of them making a play in, being the surprise team that no one anticipated. Get that game. I think it'd be amazing to be in that game. And I think this is important because what it does is it means the Jazz are playing important games right now. It means the Jazz are playing games where these guys they've been really diligent about the game plans and staying focused on it, and understanding, and the coaches are coaching them through it, and everyone's working just as hard right now as they did early in the season. They're only a half game out of the play-in, so everyone's fully engaged, and I think that's really important for the franchise. Are we sure that Lauri isn't a championship-level first option? He has every single tool you want in one, and has been clutch again and again this year. Need to see him in the playoffs to get a complimentary star or two. So this was actually the exact debate that Ron Boone and I had on the plane the other day. Ron Boone and I debated the other day whether or not Lauri was a star or a superstar. Ron was a little bit more towards superstar. I was a little bit more towards star. When we do points gained today, it might slide you a little bit toward superstar. He and the Jazz have done a nice job with this, and it might make their offense better. The one thing, and Will talked about this in Lauri's development yesterday. So Lauri is not great catching the ball stationary and creating his own momentum yet. And I thought we saw against Lou Dort, he's not always great about getting himself free off picks yet. I mean, when we're talking about, let's be clear. We are nitpicking greatness right now. But if you're going to be a championship level go-to guy, that's the level I'm talking about. Like, we're nitpicking at a very, very high level right now. So I think those are some areas. What the Jazz did last night is they got Lauri on the move every time. Every time Lauri made a play last night, I think he was on the move. I was going to go back and rewatch the fourth quarter, but this show is late because I had the Ultimate Road experience where my phone plugged in but didn't charge. So I woke up at 10:40 today because I had no alarm, which I was supposed to wake up at 8:10, 7:10, which tells you a little bit about what my body needed versus what my mind thought I should do. So I'm just way behind on everything. And I was going to rewatch the fourth quarter. That was part of the plan. But my thought on last night is that Lauri's catching the ball on the move. And so the next step for Lauri to be that championship-level player is to be able to just give him the ball, isolation, left wing, 18 feet out, create his own space, get to the rack, and then pass off that. And that's what he's going to develop. Will said ball handling will be the number one thing for him to work on in this offseason. Number one thing for him to work on this offseason is going to be his ball handling. He's 7 feet tall, so the instinct is that ball gets high. And you'll recall early in the year when he came across the lane, it got nicked. There were some plays where it got knocked away. He has done a better job. He's so good. Like, he's the reason we're winning. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of guys, but, like, truly, Lauri's, like, the tank-proof piece here. He's so good, so efficient, gives us such an advantage every night that it's almost impossible for us to not win games with him. But it's unclear. I think he's a second piece, but that's because, like, I think there's 5 championship pieces in the NBA, right? There's Steph, Giannis, Luka, I think. Joel Embiid, I think. Jason Tatum. Who am I forgetting? Like superstars. I think there's like 6 or 7 in the league. And then the other level stars. Like, is Devin Booker, Kevin Durant probably is superstar. Is Devin Booker superstar? Is Donovan Mitchell? Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Is Lauri Markkanen? Like, I have those guys all as stars. Giannis, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, I kind of have there. Jalen Brunson's becoming a star, not a superstar. He's becoming a star. He's been really, really good. And so Lauri, I think, is in that star category. Not that, but he's 25 and he's developing. He's getting better. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. If you're heading out to get a Hyundai, do it with our friends over at Murdoch. If you're looking for the best bang for your buck, you're looking at a Hyundai. If you're looking at cars right now, make sure you check out a Hyundai, because I think you'll find out that you get the most bang for your buck, and you'll be wildly impressed by what you can get at Murdoch Hyundai. And you'll get the great service. I'll set you up with a VIP meeting with Cameron over in Salt Lake. And if you want to go down to Linden with Jake, if you're going up to Logan, let me know. We'll set you up there as well. So email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com. And make sure that we get you the VIP treatment that all Locked On listeners deserve if you're heading over to Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with the official sportsbook of Locked On and America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. New customers get a new no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's a bonus bet back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sports app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. And then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drained. You name it. Include core markets like spread, over, under, total, or you can do player prop bets like points, rebounds, assists, etc. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet on $1,000 in bonus bets when you go FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's continue with our, by the way, second listen of the day. Thank you for making us our first listen. Second listen, Locked On Sports Today. 22-minute recap or game-to-game. Your NBA recap. All right, let's get back to more questions. Those first 3 were outstanding, all on Lauri. Let's move the focus over, I think, to Walker at this point is where we're going. What does Walker need to add to his defense to eventually become a defensive player of the year? So he's on that trajectory. There's no question. It's kind of a crazy concept, but in his rookie year right now, the only rim defenders that are better than him in the league are Draymond Green, Giannis if he put him as a qualifier, and Jaren Jackson Jr. All of them will have won a defensive player of the year likely by the end of the year. So he's on that trajectory. What Will Hardy said yesterday in the press conference, you guys are right on it. These are literally the questions I asked in the press conference yesterday. What Will Hardy said yesterday in the press conference about this was that they've given him this slow entry as a bench player. Then they kind of put him, we talked about putting him in the deep zone. They put him in the pool with floaties to start the year. Then they ripped the floaties off. Now they're going to go throw him in the ocean. And the ocean is that last night he guarded Markelle Fultz for a lot of the night. So, what is your defensive versatility so that we can build defensive packages? So last night they used him the way the Celtics used Robert Williams throughout the year. which is guard a non-good shooter, be able to guard them well enough when they get the ball so they don't beat you, but also be able to sag in and then make an impact on other plays at the rim. Obviously blocked the first 3 shots of the night. It was pretty incredible. They then didn't attack. They only took 7 shots at the rim in the first half because of it. So he's well on his way. Obviously, you got to get better players around him. We got to be better than 26 in the league defensively. But defensive versatility is what Will Hardy's talking about. So switching, guarding non-centers, guarding point guards. Last night, on one of the key plays of the night last night, the Magic, when they go small with Banchero as the center, they like to play him handling in the point guard, and they have the point guard set the pick, so then you get stuck with your point guard on a 6'10", 235-pound Banchero, then bogart you the basket. What the Jazz did is they saw it coming, tip of the hat to Will Hardy and his staff, and they made the move, and they put Walker Kessler on Markelle Fultz, so Fultz set the pick, and then Walker switches on to Banchero, who's the center at the time, and guards him and stymied him. That's defensive player of the year type stuff right there. That's exactly it. That's a fabulous question. Nice work. You guys are so good. What is Walker's ceiling? So this is related, but I think ceiling is frankly defensive player of the year, but then I think offensively what you saw last night's really important. Offensive rebounds late in games are wildly important to this league. An offensive rebound in the last 5 minutes of a game is incredibly important. There's only 8 possessions left, and you go get an extra one. And then the scoring's what it is. Walker wins the game last night. Jazz missed shots up 1 or 2 twice last night. Walker gets the rebound, puts it back up and in to put us back up 2 possessions, both times. Those are game-winning shots. And then I think you're going to see Walker be an offensive player. I think he'll eventually develop, a shot to the outside and be an adequate maybe three-point shooter, maybe not. He's got to be able to do what Rudy couldn't do, which is on a switch against a smaller guy, be able to take advantage of him in the post. I think he'll be able to do that. Walker's averaging 11 and 11 right now. I think his ceiling is 18 and 11. That you're adding in 3 field goals and 2 more free throws a night that he gets based on offense. Right now he's getting everything based on the game. And I think he's getting 3 to 4 field goals a night based on offense, that they run something to him, or that's the natural play in the offense, and they get him some stuff, or he pops for a jump shot that he hasn't been taking, and I think that's the next step. So I think this kid, that's a crazy comment, right? But his ceiling is 18 and 12, one of the league leaders in rebounders, a good enough offensive player teams have to deal with him, and he's defensive player of the year. It's crazy. Crazy. That's his ceiling. Not his likelihood, his ceiling. Just want to make sure we're clear on that. Explain the tank philosophy. Let's say we hypothetically draft a generational player. Isn't there a good chance that they'll want out of Utah for the time that they're good? Yeah. I don't know what else you would do, right? So, yes, that is true. That is the negative Nelly approach. We've lost Gordon Hayward. We've traded Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. And so, yes, that's the reality of kind of our world that we live in a small market. But that's the reality for probably 25 markets. After listening to yesterday's show, NBA Draft Breakdown with Leaf Tulane, hope you got it. I'll link to it on the YouTube at the end of the show. I believe you take the best player available at each draft slot this year. We need talent in any position we can get it. I even take somebody at 27 as a backup center to Kessler on the roster. Do you agree? I'm not sure I would draft a center. I think I might take a center off the board. It's a waste of a pick. There's too many backup centers. You shouldn't. I don't think you're developing 2 centers at the same time. I think Lauri Markkanen can play 5 if you need to. I wouldn't draft a center. But otherwise, we're so short on talent. We're so short on talent. I don't mean that like Lauri's great. Walker's terrific. Coach has, you go watch that Phoenix-Dallas game the other night, the shot making. You go watch that Milwaukee-Philadelphia game and the level of play. We're not there yet. We're not anywhere near that level of play right now. What do you think about drafting combo guards? It feels like just a way of saying that they don't have a point guard skills or a shooting guard size. I'm not sure how many point guards there are anymore. And then when you think of a point guard, you think of John Stockton, Mike Conley, 6'1". Like, I'm also not sure about 6'1" guards anymore or 6'2" guards. Like, unless you're super special. Unless you're Jalen Brunson or Donovan Mitchell, I think it's really hard to be Trae Young, maybe, to be a 6'1" guard and win in this league. So you better be astronomically great. Ty Washington, 6'3", he was the shortest player drafted in the first round last year. So I think everything's a little bit of a combo guard at this point. And I also just think playing point guard now, a lot of it is running pick and roll, creating off the pick and roll, multiple guys playing pick and roll, drive and kick. Some of the old point guard skills that we talked about. Now, we do a lot more of Lauri coming off double pins and things, and the ball's got to be delivered at the right time, at the right space. And I'm not devaluing it. I mean, I think we've seen like the value of Mike Conley late in games. So you're going to have somebody who understands how to read a game and feel a game, but I'm not sure it's like the traditional point guard. So I don't actually even know what a combo guard is anymore. I just like Talen Horton-Tucker, a combo guard. Like, I just think he's a guard and he's learning how to play point guard. He's not a particularly good shooter yet, and he's going to have to shoot better and learn how to play point guard at 6'4", because he's not a spot-up, knockdown shooter. Like Malik Beasley's pretty clear prototype, right? He's a knockdown catch-and-shoot shooter, but he's got to play the ball in his hands a little, and his lack of playing with the ball in his hands is problematic. So I'm not entirely sure if I understood the question correctly. From Spencer, if the Jazz somehow end up as the number 2 pick this year, do you have any hesitations on Scoot Henderson, given he's 6'1", and how the league is trending? I do. I think I still draft him, but Raphael Barlow on Locked On NBA Draft Big Board has talked about Brandon Miller as the second pick of the draft. Now, that was before all the gun stuff. Like it's just something. Like, yeah. But he has talked about the idea of Brandon Miller as the number 2 pick of the draft over Scoot Henderson, and nobody else has. And I think that's a legitimate conversation. Now, what did I just say? Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, Jalen Brunson, like, be that special. You can survive at 6'1", 6'2". I think he might be that special. Right? I think in all likelihood he is that special. And so you probably can you still pull the trigger with him as the second pick of the draft. But my point is it actually has been somewhat of a legitimate discussion. With the talent the Jazz have on the roster, how do you think they navigate the best player, best fit aspects of the players? So I'm not trying to be rude on this, and this is probably not like the comment you would expect from the radio voice of the team. And so for all the people that like talk about how I'm a homer all the time and you can't really believe what I say because of the fact that I'm the radio, like, I don't think we have that much talent. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like, considering the talent we have on the roster, like this team's been great. It's been fabulous to watch. It's got great energy. It's got great juice. But like, championship level building a team, like, add talent, not fit, talent. We need dramatic increase in talent if we're going to win a championship or be a top 4 team in a conference. Like, Lauri's awesome. Walker's, we just talked about. Like, we need talent. So the idea of the question that we're fitting talent to our roster fits to our no. Like, we need, the only thing I'd say is I don't think I'd draft a center unless you really think he could be great, right? Like, I watched Detroit, Charlotte last night, and like, they're playing Wiseman and Duren, and it's like, it feels like a lot. Wiseman's interesting. It's probably worth the gamble. Jalen Duren's really good, can be really good. He and Walker are going to be beasts in this league for a long time. Mark Williams is pretty good before he hurt his hand, too. Like, it's interesting that the 7-footer, I think, is coming back a little bit here. And I think 6'5" and up. Like, it's a big league. So I'm not of that school of thought, if I'm being completely honest. Which I am more than people give me credit for, if we want to be really clear on it. All right. It is time for our Nissan Electric Player of the Week. This is a hard call. Like, I think we might have highlighted Chris Dunn the other day. I think we highlighted Colin Sexton before the injury. Talon had a really good game last night. But my Nissan Most Electric Player of the Week, brought to you by the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya, is Lauri Markkanen. I just think you got to tip the hat to greatness. He has been so good, 30 back-to-back games without JC, carrying the load, had a tough game against Lou Dort, bounced back twice. He's been brilliantly fierce, fiercely elegant, stunningly powerful. That's exactly what the Nissan 2023 Ariya is. It packs pin-to-your-seat power, premium intelligence, all-in-one electric vehicle. The all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya, the EV for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissan.usa.com, and congratulations to Lauri Markkanen for being our Nissan Ariya electric player of the week. Draft fans, for your second listen, Locked On NBA Big Board. All right, I want to do points gained, and I want to get to the final set of questions here, if I can, quickly. So let me see. I think we're close to wrapping up on questions. I think Simone could be really good. He feels more comfortable. Do you see him as a piece for the future? You know, I don't know yet on him on whether he's a piece for the future or not, but I think the point you're making here is fabulous, which is that this is the beauty of this like 17, 20-game stretch where these guys get extended run, and Simone was not very good for about 5 or 6 games shooting, and he's been given enough chance so we can actually see what he is as a player and let him kind of work through it. And I think that's the beauty of this stretch. Let Talon work through it. Let Simone work through it, and then learn at the end of 20 games what they are. Next question. Who are some of the players around the league you would want to pair with Lauri, or you would hope we could get via free agency in the next couple of years, not necessarily this free agency? It's a really hard question to answer. Again, talent. Like, I'm just going really, really, really good players. I don't think I would be taking any players here based on, like, oh, they match Lauri. I just want really, really, really good players. All right, it's time now for points gained. Points gained is our offensive metric that grades all offensive players based on their scoring opportunities used and the efficiency by which they use them. It's comp to if league average offensive players were to use the exact same amount of possessions, how many points do you score more than league average? In the years past, we've generally, by the end of the year, I'm sure it'll be different this year with our offensive explosion, we generally have 3 players over 3 and 10 players over 2. This year, it looks as though we are going to have 13 players over 2, so a few more, and 5 players over 3. Kevin Durant is the number 1 most offensively impactful player in the NBA at 4.3. That's a really high number. In fact, Jokic led the league last year at 3.9. Steph led the league the year before at 4. 19-20 season, Harden led the league at 3.3. 18-19 season, Giannis led the league at 3.6. We haven't had somebody up at 4 here in a while, have we? I think we're going to have to get back to Steph's unbelievable season. 17-18, Steph led the year at 4.7. So Durant's having the best offensive season since Steph in the 17-18 season, which is one of the historically greatest seasons of all time. Jokic is 4.1. Curry is 3.9. Joel Embiid is a 3.4. And Dame Lillard is a 3.4. So those 5 guys are all over 3. Last year, as I said, we had 5 guys over 3 too. Nikola Jokic, Rudy Gobert, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jared Allen. Year prior, we had 4 guys over 3, Curry, Durant, Zion, and Jokic. Year before, we had 4, so I guess we usually have 4 over 3. Harden, Karl-Anthony Towns, John Collins, and Dame Lillard. And in 18-19, we had 3 guys over 3, Giannis, Steph, and Harden, and then we had Steph's amazing year with Harden, Durant, and Karl-Anthony Towns over 3. So right now, it's 5 guys over 3, Durant, Jokic, Curry, Embiid, and Lillard. By the way, those numbers all match pretty well to, tell you that these are the best offensive players in the league. Number 6 is Lauri Markkanen. He's at a 2.9. He is an elite offensive player. He is one of the 6 most positively impactful offense players. He's why we win games. Zion, in his limited time, 29 games, is next. Domantas Sabonis, why Sacramento's winning. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 2.2. Anthony Davis, 2.1. Rudy Gobert is up to 2.1. Jared Allen, 2.1. Get the centers in here. Miles Turner, 2.1 at 2.0, and then Nick Claxton. Interesting kind of elite players moving forward to compare Lauri. So Lauri is a go-to guy. Primary players at a 2.9. Here are some other go-to guy primary players. Jimmy Butler's at 1.8. Luka's at 1.7. James Harden's at a 1.5. Tyrese Halliburton's at a 1.4. Kawhi Leonard's at a 1.4. Kyrie's at a 1.4. Donovan's to a 1.3. Jason Tatum's at a 1.2. Zach LaVine's at 1.1. I'm just looking at go-to number 1 options. Giannis is a 0.9. He's not particularly efficient. Darius Garland's a 0.8. And that's Desmond Bane is not really go-to guy at 0.6. DeMar DeRozan's a 0.6. Paul George is a 0.6. Devin Booker's a 0.6. Jalen Brunson's a 0.6. That's interesting. We had a conversation earlier today about stars versus superstars. That would lead me to believe those are stars and lead you to believe Lowry's a little bit more of a superstar. Least efficient offensive players in the league that are hurting their teams. That Dylan Brooks is the -3. So Dylan Brooks just wipes out one of your great players. Killian Hayes, -3. Terry Rozier we'll see tomorrow, -2.8. Russell Westbrook, -2.4. Kelly Oubre, who we'll see tomorrow, -2.1. Paulo Banchero, -2.1. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. I was not impressed last night. His legs look dead. Jabari Smith, -1.9. Everyone's killing Jabari Smith, and Paulo Banchero's having a less efficient year. R.J. Barrett, that's really worrisome if you're a Knick, -1.8. Jalen Green still down here at -1.8. LaMelo Ball, who's out for the year, -1.7. Both Balls out for the year. Any elite level players, -1. CJ McCollum still at a -1.6. Fred VanVleet's at a -1.5. It's Ben Taylor's fault. Josh Giddey's a -1.4. DeJounte Murray's a -1.3. John Morant's a -1.2. Changes your perspective on some of these guys, doesn't it? And that's probably it as I scan through just top to bottom. So the question earlier of like players you might like, find me guys that are above league average in their offensive. I mean, that's what I believe in, is that you want guys, all your guys to be above league average. And when you have a marquee guy like Lauri Markkanen, you can do well. Here's Markkanen. Jazz or Markkanen's a 2.9. Walker Kessler's a 1.4. Kelly Olynyk 1.1. Colin Sexton 0.9. Chris Dunn 0.6. Damian Jones 0.4. Ochai's even. Jordan Clarkson's a -0.8. Simone's a -1.1. Rudy Gay's a -1.1. Talen's a -1.3. There you go. All right. Let's do our tankathon draft simulation. All right. Here we go. Coming into it, as of today, the Jazz start tied with Toronto for the 11th, 12th draft position. Minnesota's tied for the 16th draft position. And then Philadelphia were 27th. So we'll have, here we go. Let's do it. Here it is. The number 1 pick of the NBA draft goes to the Detroit Pistons. The number 2 pick of the NBA draft goes to the Houston Rockets. The number 3 pick of the NBA draft goes to the Charlotte Hornets, who bumped up 1. Orlando goes number 4. So the teams that did not win games make it worthwhile. San Antonio slips to 5. Indiana at 6. Orlando gets Chicago's pick at 7. So Orlando in this would have 4 and 7. Oklahoma City gets the 8th pick. Portland gets the 9th pick. Washington 10, 11 Toronto. Jazz finished 12th. New Orleans 13, Lakers 14. Minnesota holds at 18, or somewhere in that mix with a coin toss. So in this scenario, the Jazz end up with 12, 17, and 27. If you want more, go watch the Leaf to Lean episode yesterday where he breaks down who to watch during March Madness for all those picks. Thanks very much for listening to Locked On Jazz. Sorry for the delay today. Hope you're doing great.